If you have a list of customers and you are dreading adding them in QuickBooks one by one, I've got good news for you. QuickBooks Online lets you import customers all at once, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do it step by step in this video. We're going to look at a sample spreadsheet with the exact format that QuickBooks wants. We'll import it together so you can see what actually happens on the QuickBooks side. We'll cover what to do if the customer has an opening balance, and we'll even discuss how to import sub-customers. So let's get into it. So we're logged into QuickBooks Online here, and we can either click on the gear icon and click Import Data, or here on the dashboard, we can click on Customers. And over here on the left, we'll click on Customers again. And here over in the top right area, we're going to click on the drop-down arrow beside New Customer and click Import Customers. Now here it shows that we can import customers a couple different ways. On the left, we can import them with a CSV or an Excel file, or on the right, we can import them with Google Sheets. And underneath both of these options, we have a sample file that we can download or preview that'll show us how our file needs to be set up in order for it to be imported into QuickBooks correctly. So we're going to click here on Download a Sample File. We're going to click to open it up. And this is how QuickBooks is wanting us to format our file. So our first row needs to be our header title for each column of information. So name, company name, etc. There's a lot of fields here that we can fill in with our customer's information, such as the customer's email, phone number, their address, etc. But the only required field is the customer name here in our first column. So we can just enter our customer's name, whether that's an individual or a company, and leave all of the rest of these columns blank if we don't have the customer's information or if we just don't need that information entered in QuickBooks for whatever reason. Now, when it comes to the name column, a few notes for you. You can have the full name as one column. You can have it as two separate columns with first and last name, or you can have it three separate columns for first, middle, and last names. Any of those formats will work fine when importing. Also, if your list has the full name in one column, but it is formatted as last name, comma, first name, for example, John Doe is on your list as Doe, comma, John, that's totally fine. QuickBooks will still put the first and last names in the right fields. The only thing to keep in mind is the display name will stay as Doe, comma, John. Now, if you're including an opening balance as of a certain date, then your date column has a very specific format that QuickBooks requires, and that is year-month-day. And if that's not correct, QuickBooks will not allow you to import your list until that is corrected. But the good news is the phone number does not have to be any specific format, so you can leave those however they show up on your list. So we have an example spreadsheet here with some customers already entered in that we want to upload into our QuickBooks Online file. So you can see here that some of these customers were only entering the customer's name. Some of them were entering a few other pieces of information like their phone number, their email, and others are entirely filled in. So we're all set to import this file into QuickBooks Online. Now, if you're using a Mac computer like I am, then you're going to need to make sure this file is set as a CSV or an Excel file instead of numbers, or it's not going to import. So to do that, we're going to go over to the top left of the screen, and we're going to click on File, go down and hover over Export To, and we're going to choose either Excel or CSV. I'm going to choose Excel, and next it's going to pop up our options, and I'm going to leave it as is and click Save. Then we can name our file, choose where we want it to download to, and click Export right here. And our Excel file is now created and ready to import to QuickBooks. So let's switch back to QuickBooks, and we're going to click on the Browse button right here, and we're going to choose the file that we just created, which is this Excel file here, and we're going to click Open. Now we can see here that our file has populated in this field, and we're going to go to the bottom right and we're going to click Next. Now on this screen, we're going to make sure that our fields of our spreadsheet are matched correctly with the QuickBooks Online fields. So make sure QuickBooks fields on the left are correctly mapped to your fields that you just imported, which are here on the right. And then we're going to go down to the bottom right and click Next. Now here we're going to scroll through and we're going to make sure everything looks correct before finishing the import. If you see information missing, you can click on that field and add it. If you see incorrect information or incorrect formatting, like we have here on this opening balance date, well, then we can just click on that field and correct that information. Or if you see a customer that you actually didn't want to import, then you can just uncheck this box right here. Now, once everything looks correct, we'll go over here to the bottom right and click Done. And we'll see this pop-up notification here that tells us that our customers have been imported. Now we should definitely scroll through our customers and make sure everything looks good. Occasionally you'll have something happen where an and symbol or ampersand in the customer's name did something funny or some other situation like that. If you run into that, you'll just click on the customer to open it up. You'll go over to the right and click edit, and we'll correct the name, and then we'll go down to the bottom and click save, and then you're good to go. Now, what if you use sub-customers? Can those be imported as well? The answer is yes, but there's a very specific way to import those. So I have a spreadsheet here with a few examples. Here we have an HOA with 3 separate lots as sub-customers. Now, in order for these to be imported correctly, you need to have the parent customer's name and then put a colon and follow it with a sub-customer's name. So if we needed to add lot 31 to this list to have it imported, let's add a new row and let's enter Cedar Grove HOA colon lot 31. Now on this specific list, we only have the parent customer and the sub-customer accounts, but as long as they're formatted like this, you can add sub-customers at the same time that you add your list of other customers. Also, if you already have your parent customer in QuickBooks, but you have a list of sub-customers, you can import just the list of sub-customers as long as they're formatted correctly. So let's import these sub-customers into QuickBooks. I'm going to export this to an Excel file. Now back here in QuickBooks, let's click on the drop down up here and click Import Customers. We'll click Browse and select the correct spreadsheet. Click Next. Make sure the fields are mapped correctly and click Next. Make sure everything looks correct on this screen and then click Done. Now here's something that might come up for you. We already had Cedar Grove HOA imported with the last group of customers. So since that exact customer name is already in QuickBooks, this customer won't be imported again. It won't override it, it won't duplicate it, it'll just skip it. So we can just uncheck this box here and then click Done. But here's where a question often comes up. What do you do if you actually have 2 customers that have the same name? Now it likely won't happen with a name like Cedar Grove HOA, but let's say for example, John Smith. What do you do in that situation since QuickBooks doesn't allow you to have 2 customers with the same exact name in the system? Well, it's not always ideal, but you'll need to differentiate them in the name field. So that might look like using a location or occupation or a middle initial. So John Smith-Main Street, John Smith-Landscaping, John J. Smith, or any other differentiator that you want to use. Just as long as the names aren't identical, QuickBooks will allow all of them. A quick side note before we keep going, once you get customers imported and things set up in QuickBooks, the next challenge for most business owners is keeping things consistent month to month. If you want a simple way to stay on top of your books after setup, things like making sure transactions are categorized, accounts are reconciled, and nothing gets missed, I've got a free end of month checklist that'll walk you through exactly what to review each month. I'll drop the link in the description so you can grab it if that sounds helpful. All right, back to importing. Now let's talk about opening balances because this part is a little interesting. So here's one of the customers that we just imported from our spreadsheet with an opening balance. And the opening balance date was as of the beginning of January 2026. What QuickBooks does is it takes the opening balance amount and it creates an invoice for that customer with the next in line invoice number and enters it as the opening balance date that you had on the spreadsheet that you imported. So if we click View/Edit here on the right of it, we'll see that QuickBooks just hit a default income account and put opening balance in the description. So essentially what QuickBooks is saying is, as of this date, this customer owes you this amount. So then later on, if you want to detail this out more, you can do that manually, but that's how the opening balances come in. One invoice for each customer who has an opening balance. Now, if your books are on an accrual basis, that opening balance amount will show up on your reports as income as of that date. And this will also increase your accounts receivable balance. If your books are on a cash basis, the income won't show up until you actually receive the payment. Okay, that's how you import customers. If you found this helpful and you want to make sure you're staying on top of your books every month, grab my free end of month bookkeeping checklist. I'll link it up in the description of this video. And hey, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I'd rather not be doing any of this bookkeeping stuff myself, that's what I help business owners with. If you want to see if working together might be a good fit, feel free to send me an email. You'll find my contact information down in the description of this video.